up, guys? It's your boy McCarley330 here. We're back for week number 4 of McCarley's Play of the Week. So this week we're going to be back on the defensive side of the ball, and we're going to break down a defense I've been using a lot this year, something I used a lot last year. Today we're going to be focusing on coverage rather than a blitz. I know a couple of weeks ago when we were on defense, I showed you a blitz you can use to really put pressure on your opponent. This week we're focusing more on coverage, and we're doing that for two reasons. For one, there is going to be a patch coming to this game in the next few days or even a week or so that could alter some of the pass rush things. We don't know yet. Just sometimes when EA patches the game, it does change the way blitzes come in, or pass rush angles, or changes the way the offensive line blocks, that sort of thing. So I don't want to put out a blitz today that could become irrelevant tomorrow or whenever they put out the patch. So for that reason, we're going to focus on a coverage that I've been using. And also, it's important to remember that the pass rush in Madden is pretty fierce right now, which is not a bad thing. But that being said, there are some plays that have value just with their base pass rush as well as the coverage behind it. So today we're going to focus on a play that does just that, and it's going to be cover 4 quarters out of nickel normal. Now, a lot of formations have cover 4 quarters, so the coverage rules remain the same, but one of the best base pass rushes in the game is going to be found in nickel normal. So for that reason, I'm going to call it out of nickel normal. And today we're going to be using it against a spread set. A lot of Madden players are doing these 2x2 sets this year. You'll still see your fair amount of gun bunch. If you haven't seen it yet, you will. But a lot of players are using 2x2 sets, or maybe even 2 receivers to one side and 1 on the other. They'll do like a doubles kind of set, something like that. But for right now, we're going to focus on a spread set with 2x2 on each side. And so our defense looks like this. So if you aren't familiar with cover 4 quarters, it's a match coverage concept. And what that means is that these 4 players in the deep quarter zones here, our 2 outside corners and then our 2 deep safeties, they are responsible for matching routes if they go vertical. So a vertical route is anything 10 yards or deeper, and then these players will match that route man-to-man depending on who their assignment is. So in 2x2 sets, the communication is actually fairly simple. You're just matched up with the receiver who's most in front of you. Ward will match up with our circle receiver, that's John Ross. Burnett is going to match up with the tight end over here on the in the slot. And then Demarius Randall will match up with the other slot receiver, and then Terrence Mitchell will match up with AJ Green on the outside. So those are your 4 deep zone 4 match coverage defenders. Then you have these 2 quarter flats here. Their first responsibility at the snap of the ball is to redirect the slot receiver so they don't get a free release up the seam. All right, so the first thing they're going to do is put their hands on the slot receiver to make sure they can at least slow them down, and then they will pass them off to the safety behind them. All right, and then you've got your 3-rec hook here being played right now by Christian Kirksey. He is going to be responsible for the first crosser. Anyone who crosses the formation, Kirksey will pick him up. And he's kind of like, he plays kind of hole in the middle of the defense, right? So that's his responsibility there. Now, the running back, should the running back run a vertical route, say the running back runs a wheel route, right? Then one of these seam flat defenders, whatever side the running back is on, or quarter flat defenders, will match him up the sideline man-to-man. So if a running back runs a wheel out of the backfield, that will be the responsibility of the quarter flat to match. So first thing we're going to show you here is just how this play is run against a vertical set. So this is 4 verts here out of spread Y slot. So we're just going to run this play, and I'm going to show you how everyone picks up their man, and I'm going to put TJ Carey back in his spot so he can do his job as far as redirecting the receiver goes. And I'm going to just hang out on a defensive lineman to show you how this play works, just when you're not really using anybody, all right? So we're going to go ahead and snap the ball, and there you see everyone gets their man picked up, and look, those routes are bagged all the way up the field, right? And then your pass rush comes in. All right, so we're going to take a look at the replay and show you how everyone picks up their assignment. All right, so let's go take a look at the replay now. All right, so we're going to look here. Let's keep an eye on our quarter flats here. As the ball is snapped, there you go. He gets his hand on him, passes him off behind him, and then he's immediately picked up by Demarius Randall, who matches him all the way up the field. All right, now let's say for argument's sake that number 83 here is not running a vertical route. Say he's running a slant, maybe a shallow in. If that's the case, then our quarter flat defender will chase him into the 3-rec and kind of guard him that way. And then Demarius Randall would actually go bracket AJ Green. He would actually go double team AJ Green up the field, and make sure they take away that deep threat. All right, so that's what happens if you know, they aren't all running 4 verts, right? And then it would be the same thing on this side. So, you know, let's say the tight end here was running just a out route, a slant, whatever. Then Burnett here would go and bracket this outside receiver who's running a vertical. All right, so that's kind of how that works in case they don't all run verticals. So that's that. I just wanted to give you an idea what that looks like. So another good thing about cover 4 quarters is, first of all, it's a 2-high shell, so it looks like cover 2. Anyone who does know how to read a defense, though, will see how far off the corners are playing, and probably diagnose that it's a cover 4 shell. Because corners in a cover 2 are usually only 5 to 10 yards off the ball. In cover 4, you can see here they're about 12 yards off the ball, 15 yards off the ball. So that right there will tell you it's cover 4, or at least it looks like cover 4. But anyway, so the other thing you can do with this, or the other good thing about this formation, is that the safeties are actually in the run fit. So that means they're actually going to provide run support. Whereas, you know, in other formations like cover 2 and things like that, the safeties are not involved in the run game. So if you were to audible to a run here, all right, so if you run the ball against this formation, you'll see the safeties immediately come down and attack the run. All right, so that is because they have run gap assignments. So as you can see here on the inside zone, as soon as the ball is snapped and they diagnose run, the safeties immediately come offer support because they are in the run fit, and they are responsible for helping provide run support. All right, so that's another good thing about cover 4 quarters, is that it will help against the run. All right, so now that we've kind of covered the coverage and things like that, I'm going to talk about who you should use on this play. It's kind of a preferential thing. A lot of players will use this middle player here, this 3-rec, and just kind of lurk the middle of the field. I actually prefer to use this player. I prefer to use this safety, as long as you understand the coverage rules and know who you're responsible for, right? So as long as you understand the coverage rules, how the match concept is supposed to be played, and you need to know that, you know, if you decide to use this player, right? Say I decide to use Demarius Randall here, and then all of a sudden, you know, the guy who Demarius Randall was supposed to be covering goes vertical, you have to go cover that, right? So we have 4 verts here, so I would have to go match this route man-to-man, should that route go vertical. So you just have to know that if you're going to use your safety, pay attention to who your matchup would be should they go vertical, and that needs to be your first read, is to make sure that, you know, you're kind of taking that away. All right, so if I'm using Demarius Randall, say I'm sitting here, when the ball is snapped, I have to look for that receiver and be like, oh, that's my guy, I need to go get him. All right, now if you notice, the pass rush is coming in incredibly fast, and that is because the base rush from nickel normal is a very good base rush. There's not a whole lot of adjusting that needs done behind it to make it come in. So that's just something to pay attention to as well. It is a very good base rush, and that can be found in any one of the plays in this formation. So if you are playing in nickel normal and you have other plays that you like to run, just know the base rush is going to come in hot. And that's a good thing. That's what you want. You want to be able to play coverage, not have to worry about sending 7. And that's why, you know, I kind of felt like this was a good formation to start with. I wonder if they have a trips, gun wide trips week. Okay, so this is where coverage rules are going to change a little bit. So now you see we have a trips formation here. So now Demarius Randall here, this safety, is going to be responsible for picking up, in this case, it's going to be the tight end. The third receiver to cross the formation is going to be picked up by Demarius Randall. All right, so again, if you're using a safety, you just have to know who your assignment would be on any given play and things like that. So that's just something to always be aware of, and that goes for no matter who you're using. You know, obviously, if you are using a player that's not a defensive lineman, you're taking that player out of their what would be their normal coverage responsibility. So you also have to mind that area of the field and kind of follow similar rules, but it does give you free reign to go help take away other routes and things like that. It's all about how your opponent is playing and what kind of defense you're playing, right? But it's just important to remember that whenever you're using a player, you do need to be cognizant of what their actual zone responsibilities are, because no one else is going to be there if you take that player away, right? So you have to be aware that if you take them away from there, there's going to be no one covering that area of the field, so that's going to be your responsibility too. But yeah, so if I'm using Demarius Randall here on this play, for instance, and then they snap the ball, I'm looking at the middle of the field, I see this tight end going vertical, I got to get over on him because I know that's my guy, right? So that's just something to be aware of. And again, you saw the pass rush come in incredibly fast, so that's kind of what, you know, we're trying to get out of this formation. The other nice thing about cover 4 quarters is that you have the ability to basically audible from cover 4 match to spot drop cover 4, and none of your players are going to move, so your opponent's not going to know, right? So if you are running cover 4 quarters all game long and your opponent is picking up on the fact that this is man match coverage, so I need to run man coverage beaters and things like that, what you can do is you can change it to a spot drop cover 4 instead, and then everyone just drops to their spot. The quarter zones will drop off the ball and defend those deep routes. Quarter flats will play like true flat defenders, and then the 3-rec hook will play like a regular 3-rec, right? So the way you do that is you hit your coverage adjustments if you hit triangle, and then you hit the L1 or LB option to protect the sticks. What that is going to do is it drops the match rules. So now no one is matching anymore. Everyone's playing straight up zone cover 4 coverage, and so you'll see the difference here. No one should be matching man to man. In this formation, in this case, everyone's going to be, I'm actually going to go back to that wide trips. Actually, we can go trade wide flex. Trade wide flex is a good example here. All right, so now we're in trade wide flex. We're going to run PA crossers. All right, so now we're in just regular spot drop cover 4. So we're going to go ahead and snap the ball here. And then as you can see, no one's really picking anybody up man-to-man. They're just dropping into zones. And again, the pass rush comes in hot. I can't stress enough how good the pass rush is from nickel normal. So it's definitely a formation I recommend using. But this is where you can, you know, get your opponent off guard and kind of change it up on them without even, you know, without them even realizing it. Because when you come out like this, they're going to assume it's cover 4 quarters because you've been running it all game, and then all of a sudden you protect the sticks, you drop the match rules, everyone's playing spot drop zone, and then all of a sudden they go to throw an out route to beat man coverage, and it gets picked by a quarter flat. So that's the kind of thing that you have to keep in mind as well. You always have that at your disposal. I definitely go to that in the red zone. If my opponent has me backed up in the red zone and they're threatening to score, and I come out in quarters and I drop the match rules, I get a lot of interceptions in the red zone because they go to those out routes and things like that, or try to throw, you know, an in route or something like that. And now we're playing zone and people are there to pick it. So that's something to always keep in mind as well, that you can drop those match rules at any time by just opening your secondary adjustments and protecting the sticks. And then all of a sudden it's spot drop cover 4, and then that allows you also to, you know, shade your coverage. Say you want to go with cloud flats, you can do that. You can shade down to hard flats. I mean, you can do whatever you want once the match rules are dropped, because, you know, no one's playing match coverage, no one's in a man assignment or anything like that. So that's always something, like I said, that's just something to keep in the back of your mind. But also remember, you're gonna have a good pass rush, right? So feel free to you know, do what you want with the coverage. You can run cover 4 quarters. You just have to be aware that cover 4 quarters is man coverage. So that does mean it can be beaten by man coverage beaters. You know, those out routes, comeback routes, slants going across the middle, stuff like that. Those kind of things can beat man coverage because they're designed to. So that's just something to keep in mind. That's if someone's doing that to you all the way up the field, or you know, whatever the case is, that's when you switch to that, you know, spot drop cover 4, and they're not going to know it's anything different because nothing changes. When you drop the coverage rules, nobody moves, nothing happens, the defense stays exactly the same. It's still going to look like cover 4 quarters, and then they're going to go to throw a man beater and it's going to get picked. All right, so that's just something to remember for you. That's pretty much going to do it here. Like I said, if you want a full in-depth breakdown of how these coverage rules work, and you want more explanation on what quarters is and how it works, I'm going to link a video to NYKia31. He is a coverage guru. He knows everything you could possibly want to know about football coverages and how they apply to Madden and stuff like that. So I'm definitely going to put a link to his cover 4 video in this description. So I just recommend you guys checking him out if you have any further questions, or you know, you want more information on other coverages. He does a ton of good breakdowns and stuff like that, and really explains the ins and outs of coverages. But for the purposes of this video, like I said, I definitely recommend you go out there and you get yourself familiar with cover 4 quarters and use it to your advantage, because it can be versatile. You got safeties in the run fits. You're able to switch from man to zone without anybody moving, without your opponent ever being the wiser. It does a really good job of defending vertical threats, especially if you're running against an opponent who loves to just try to chuck the ball deep. Quarters will put him in an absolute bag. I do it every day. Every time I face someone who just wants to throw the ball deep and stuff like that, I go to nickel normal, run cover 4 quarters, and then he's getting sacked because of the pass rush, or he's just trying to force throws into coverage because, you know, the man coverage plays really well right now. So cover 4 quarters is definitely something you want to use. At least try it out, you know, and play around with how you like it. The other thing I will say before I wrap this video up is I'm going to go back to the play call menu here. And the one thing about nickel normal is you have to remember that match quarters is a man coverage defense, so you want to make sure you have good man coverage ratings on all these players. All right, from the 2 safeties, outside corner, slot corner, your linebackers even. So the thing with nickel normal is it gives you the ability to sub in safeties or corners at these 2 spots, right, at linebacker. Or they allows you to sub in safeties. I'm sorry, it does not allow you to sub in corners. You can sub in corners at safety, right? So you can like put in, like if I want to put in Greedy Williams that back here, or you know, Philip Gaines here, because their corners, statistically speaking, and most often have better man coverage ratings than safeties. There are some safeties, especially if you play Ultimate Team, that have good coverage ratings. Jamal Adams is a good example. Eddie Jackson is a good example in Ultimate Team. Or even Regs, if you're playing like with the Bears, Eddie Jackson has good man coverage ratings and stuff like that. But you want to put as much man coverage, as many man coverage studs as you can in those 4 positions, right? In the 2 deep safeties and the 2 outside corners. And then your seam flat defenders or quarter flat defenders are going to match wheel routes and things like that up the sideline. So you want them to at least be decent man coverage ratings. So what I like to do is I like to sub in 2 good man coverage corners here at safety. All right, and then what you'll do is put one of your safeties in at linebacker, or both safeties, whatever you want to do. You know, so in this case, I would like put, say, Demarius Randall here because he's going to be a quarter flat defender, and then you would put Morgan Burnett in here, right? So that gives you more athletes on the field, and it puts as good a man coverage ratings as you possibly can in those 4 spots that are going to be responsible for matching vertical routes and, you know, deep crosser routes, stuff like that. So that's just my recommendation as well with this defense, is to make sure you get as many athletes on the field as you possibly can. If you don't know how to sub these players in, at the play call menu, you just hit R1. You just hit R1, it's going to open the individual sub menus, or RB if you're on Xbox, and then you just cycle through the players. It'll give you your available options depending on, you know, what their position is and stuff like that. Also, I would make sure you have your best pass rushers in the 4 down lineman position. So like it's going to be 2 D tackles and 2 D ends. If you have a D end who's better than one of your D tackles, I would recommend subbing him in. You just want your best pass rushers on the field. All right. So that's just my recommendation as far as personnel goes. But that's about it, guys. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video for you here. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it or you found it useful, just do me a favor and like and subscribe. We're just trying to keep this train going. All right, so next week we'll be back on the offensive side of the ball, breaking down an offensive play. I'm gonna have more videos uploaded this week as well. I have some game film from some of the games I played over the weekend that I'm gonna break down for you guys. I'm also gonna do a MUT 101, a welcome to MUT video. If you've never played Ultimate Team before, or you're interested in it, I'm gonna make a video that kind of breaks down all the basics and things like that. So keep an eye out for that as well. So make sure you like and subscribe, turn that notification bell on so you know when I post a new video. Until then, guys, keep slinging dots, keep having fun, enjoy Madden 20, and we'll see you guys next week.